Last week, I was talking about Dharma talks, a Dharma talk about Dharma talks, and I said that they're somewhat like koans in the sense that a good Dharma talk is in one way or another a showing, a presentation of something, a performance rather than a description, and that applies far more strongly for koans. They're records of encounters, performances, and they invite you to a performance. Sometimes that can be literally so. So in the Rinzai tradition, where the formal study of koans is taken very seriously, your answer to a koan presented to your teacher might literally be to lie on the floor pretending to be dead, play dead, or rush round the room with horns on your head pretending to be a buffalo. Usually it's less obviously a performance, but a koan is asking something of you, always. The term koan, best approximate translation we have, seems to be something like a public case. And maybe the best reference for that would be in our tradition of the precedent offered by case law. In the legal system, the interpretation of a law in a particular case, might have been in 1862, might have been last week, will provide a precedent. This is how the law should be interpreted in this case. There's something of the same, that's the sense in which a koan is a public case. This is what Zen is when it works. This is, you could say, good practice, but it's stronger than that. And the koans as we have them, it's as well to remember that even when these collections, the Blue Cliff Record, the Book of Equanimity or Serenity, the Mumonkan, were being put together, they're already seen as looking back, looking at the past. And if today, or certainly yesterday, Zen scholarship had the idea of a kind of peak of Zen, when Zen was the real deal, was kind of in the 8th or 9th century in China, when it was obviously Chan rather than Zen. But now we begin to understand that idea is actually the idea of the teachers who put the koan collections together, and they were doing this some 300-400 years after the event, so around about the 12th century. So for them, this was already a way of understanding the past. These were the guys that really got it. This was when Chan really was Chan. Everything new, an adventure, exciting, plumbing the depths and breadth of the Dharma. And so in some ways the koan tradition is like the self-mythologizing of Zen. It's Zen trying to show itself to itself. What makes it important? What the core of Zen is. And of course this is especially important for Zen because it prides itself on this idea of being a special transmission outside the sutras, not founded on words and letters. So it's not like we can ever say, oh yeah, well, the Buddha said, clearly. That settled it, that sorted it out for us. We're going sideways from texts, always. And yet, of course, in going sideways from texts, we're using words, we're generating an incredible amount of text. And if these koans are always initially verbal encounters, they're about speakings and hearings and answers, we're normally encountering them in the form of text. And while from the earliest times of the koan collections they were being printed as woodblocks, so actually as published as books, they weren't in that sense generally available. You didn't just go online and order the Blue Cliff record from Amazon. It was something else. It was something you encountered with your teacher in the zendo or in the dokusan room. And that's very different. Now we can look at the whole tradition, hundreds of koans together, rather than be presented with just this, just this. And there's also the element, which I don't think is talked about enough, that these koans are usually short and sometimes unbelievably short little dialogues, or even just a statement. But in the collections, they come with commentary, an introduction, a commentary and notes, often a verse. And these are always said to offer the student hints. I think it's almost the other way around. They're there to confuse any idea of clarity which you might actually get from reading the koan. What they do is they point to the way in which the koan collections were always a kind of teacher training manuals. They go, well, yeah, this is an example of some good teaching. And actually it refers to that and that and that and that. And you can see in context and put together with that koan. The student doesn't really need to know that at all. And the more you read it, honestly, the more baffling it gets. But again, they're a way of transmitting the tradition, one teacher to another teacher. So a special transmission outside the sutra is not founded on words and letters. And because they're baffling, and because they offer a lot of blocks, it's tempting to think that they're just pointing towards some great profound mystery, some beyond, something inexpressible. But I think in the terms that I'm always trying to talk with us about, they're much more about gaps. They're about not separate and separate. They're about, as Barry says, what are the differences that make a difference? Where are we prying things apart? Where are we ramming them together? And how does that affect the way we live our lives? Because we're understanding ourselves and the world through these sticking things together and pulling things apart. So I think it's always a good place to start with koans. Where are the differences? Where are the gaps? What are they talking about? It's time we actually looked at something. See if I can find what I'm looking for. Okay, so this is the Mumonkan or Mumenkan. Number 26. Two monks roll up the screen. Hogan of Serio Monastery was about to lecture before dinner when he noticed that the bamboo screen lowered for meditation had not been rolled up. He pointed to it. Two monks arose from the audience and rolled it up. Hogan, observing the physical moment, said, "The state of the first monk is good, not that of the other." What on earth do we do with that? What's the teacher seen? What's the monk got? What's the other one not got? So actually immediately we can turn that round and we can start asking ourselves, what is it? What do I think would make that difference? Where do I think that difference is? And what's the difference between the teacher's sight and my sight? Immediately we can flip that and start asking about the way that we're bringing things together, pulling them apart. Actually, as I say, Mumon's comment here. I want to ask you, which of those two monks gained and which lost? If any of you has one eye, which I assume is referring to the Dharma eye, rather, which kind of sees everything, rather than these two, which see not a lot. If any of you has one eye, he will see the failure on the teacher's part. However, I am not discussing gain and loss. Well, we'll leave that one there. I just wanted to use it as it's that invitation. Oh. And actually, I don't know anything about this. And yet, I'm still engaged. My desire is immediately engaged. I'm wanting to know. I'm wanting to see what the difference is. Who's got what? That's interesting. There's no way I'm ever just going to sit with that. Well, let's take, one of the most famous koans of all time, which is number 1 in the Mumonkan, Joshu's dog. A monk asked Joshu, has a dog Buddha nature or not? Joshu answered, moo. Moo, of course, being no, not the negative. And for a long time, in the Rinzai tradition, this was your first koan. Has a dog got Buddha nature? No. Well, unless you really believe that a dog has got Buddha nature. More interestingly than that, unless you really want to believe that a dog has Buddha nature, it's not even a koan at all. Has a dog got Buddha nature? No. Oh, thank you, teacher. I know that now. No, it's got to be in that gap between, well, this is my teacher. This is the voice of authority. This is the great wise one who understands, is Zen. I know as a fact, and it is a fact that marks me out as somebody who knows Buddhism, that a dog has Buddha nature. And yet, he's telling me it doesn't. What am I supposed to do with this answer? And the answer, of course, is, well, you're supposed to sit with it. And you're supposed to sweat with it. And you're supposed to struggle with it. Exactly sitting in that gap between two knowledges and two desires. I know this, but my wonderful teacher says that. Help. And in that not knowing, as Mumonkan says, we cut off the road of thought. And what are you left with? Well, really, experience. You're left with, what's the point of knowing that a dog has Buddha nature? Why do I even think a dog has Buddha nature? Why is the teacher say? And none of these questions, as always, we sit with. None of them are simply answerable. They're not information. They're all just more experiencing. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, confusion. Some of the commentaries say, fall back on the sound itself. Don't think, don't try and make this mean. Fall back on the experience, just of being this no. Let this no possess you. And you might sit for a month or a year or 10 years and go in every week and offer this moo to your teacher. And they might pass you or not. We don't have to do that. But we can at least recognise the gap and the way that our knowledge and our desire, what we want, is frustrated, teased, played with, frustrated. And of course within the Soto tradition, we have, just to make the point, it's the same story, but attention! A monk asked Master Joshu, does a dog have Buddha nature? Joshu replied, yes. And then the monk said, since it has, How did it get into that bag of skin? Joshua said, because knowingly he purposefully offends. On another occasion, a monk asked Joshua, does a dog have Buddha nature? Joshua said, no. Then the monk said, all beings have Buddha nature. Why doesn't the dog have it? Joshua said, it is because of his having karmic consciousness. And it's like the monk who asks the great master, what is the truth of Buddhism? It just changed. If you want it to be this, I'll tell you that. If you want it to be that, I'll tell you this. Why? Because as soon as you get that, you have an answer, you're satisfied. The question stops, the experience stops. It's simply something you know, a fact that you can line up with all your other facts. And it's in the experience of that blocking, that frustration, that playing with your knowledge, playing with your desire. Why do I want it to be that way? How does it feel wanting it to be that way? How does it feel, this gap, these gaps between knowing and feeling and being told? How am I going to perform that? And again, the way that we do, we sit with, and the performance is simply my sitting with this. We're not asking you to play act. I'll come to how I think the answer manifests later. I mean, this is that last version of the Zen Koan is interesting, isn't it? Because, well, clearly, Joshua in one sense is lying. He's a teacher. He's more than happy to say yes or no, just according to the situation. I'll say whatever is appropriate. I'll say whatever is relevant to this student at this time. And we can ask about that teacher commenting on the monks rolling up the screen. What did he mean? Was he having a laugh, trying to wind up the other monks in the zendo? Did he really feel he'd seen something of importance? Well, again, there are more traditional and more orthodox interpretations. Maybe interpretation is wrong, maybe ways of working with the koans. But in actual fact, if you read around, what are very serious, intelligent commentaries, you'll see teachers differ. They'll find different things. And they're all about these gaps and these separations and these pushings together. But in the context of their own understanding, and that changes. Different teachers come from different directions because of their own experience, their own understanding of the Dharma. Sometimes the koan offers us what appears to be a choice. There's another classic. Let's go back to the Mumonkan. Kyogen mounts the tree. This is number 5. Kyogen said, Zen is like a man hanging in a tree by his teeth over a precipice. His hands grasp no branch, his feet rest on no limb. And under the tree another person asks him, why did Bodhidharma come to China from India? He wants an answer. As a Zenist, I've taken vows. I'm obliged to teach the Dharma to anybody who asks. And yet, if I open my mouth, I'm going to plummet to my death. So even more than usual, this one clearly implies, well, come on, surely there must be a clever answer to this. Come on, I can think my way out of this. And this is exactly the response which the koan is trying to block. It's trying to block that, hang on, I can think my way out of this box. Well, no, I'm in a box. Thinking isn't going to do it. Push, or get out of the room, open the door, push the door. It's not about thinking. It's not about thinking in that sense. So I think I'm being offered a choice. And I'm thinking, well, there must be a third alternative here. Or maybe one of these choices is actually okay. And the answer is, of course, well, you're going to die anyway. In one sense, that's the answer. What do I do with it? You might as well speak the Dharma on the way down because, you're done. At some point, your jaw is going to give out. Well, let's take a slightly more, a different, but a slightly different spin on it. Koan that Joko tells as a story. I can't remember whether this is exactly the version that she uses, but I like this one. It has lions, and that's always good. Lions chase you to the edge of the precipice. It's the same story, but different. Lions chase you to the edge of the precipice. You stand on the edge and fall. But the good news, you catch a root as you go down. Bad news, the root begins to break. You can see in a few seconds it's going to break and you're going to plummet downwards. Even if you can scrabble up to the top, somehow the lions are waiting with their jaws, saliva dripping from them. But the good news, just over there and within reach, is the most wonderful, beautiful, ripest, reddest strawberry you have ever seen in your life. What do you do? So this is actually the Kyogen story. What do you do? Well, Joko is absolutely straightforward about this. You eat the strawberry. You're done. There's no choice. There's nothing to be done. There's nothing to understand. Do you live your life? Do you eat the strawberry? Your life is your life. You're going to die anyway. Might as well eat the strawberry. No escape. We can't think our way out of our lives, and one of Joko's basic points is we're always trying to think our way out of our lives. This thought of separation, there's a me, and there's my life. And that this is always it's one of our very basic problems, this idea of separation. And so our answer is always to return to the cushion, to sit with our life. That's why Joko didn't so much like koans as something to work with, because she felt our actual real lives offered us quite enough koans, and there was always an invitation in the study of the koan to go, well, here's my life as a Zenist. Here's my life of, I'm not understanding, I'm not thinking, but this is Zen experience, and then here's the rest of my life over here. And I did actually, a couple of months back, talk about one of my favourite koans, which just really points this. And you could say it's a koan to which there is an answer at one level. But then the question is, what do I do with this answer? The question is, for the strawberry koan, how do I eat the strawberry? What is the strawberry? What am I missing? Not even what am I missing, because that suggests there's a problem. No, just now, here, what's the strawberry? Can I see it? Can I taste it? Can I take the time on my plummet to really experience and enjoy the joy of the strawberry? So this is just at the end of Zen Koans, which we've looked at before. Zen master Bokche of Mount Magu, was waving a fan. A monk approached him and asked, "The nature of wind is ever present and permeates everywhere. Why are you waving a fan?" So this is a student who knows something. And again, a lot of the koans, and again, should we be dismissive of these students who think they know something and they're going to show what they know to the great teacher? Or is this just Zen debate? Here, teacher, I've got something, hit it for 6. Hit it out the court. Don't know. Or do they really think they've got it? And is the teacher showing them? Sorry. We can decide. Anyway, a monk approached him and asked, "The nature of wind is ever present and permeates everywhere. So why, teacher, are you waving a fan to keep cool?" The master said, "You know only that the wind's nature is ever present. There's wind everywhere. You don't know that it permeates everywhere. The nature is ever present. Yeah, we know there's wind. Okay. You don't know that it permeates everywhere. Well, if it permeates everywhere, it obviously permeates me. It obviously permeates my hand. It obviously is my life. It obviously is my fanning. This is the wind." The monk said, "How does the wind permeate everywhere?" The master just continued waving the fan. No separation. It's not wind out there. It's not something to know about. It's not a clever statement. It's, as we say in Zen, just this. Just me. Just this life. So when somebody comes to Joko and says, "Gee, my relationship with my girlfriend is really good, but I've got this wonderful job offer over the other side of the country. What should I do?" Effectively, what's the Dharma say? Give me a template. Give me an answer. Do I know that I should put my relationship first? Should I know that that's just my core beliefs talking? Really, it's the job which is the important thing. Well, and teacher's answer to that is, how the hell do I know? Just go and make up your mind. Don't separate out from your life. Experience it. Live it. Where's the strawberry? What's the strawberry? So the answer to all of these koans is in my life. My life as I live it. What difference does this koan make? Not so much to my understanding, but in a probably non-specifiable and cumulative way, along with everything else, these fragments of insight. How do I simply simply recognise the waving of the fan and stop worrying about the wind? How do I come to terms with the fact that I am plummeting from the precipice? Do I reach for the strawberry? Do I teach the Dharma? In this moment, being this life, being not separate from it, what can this koan show me about the gaps? Not as pantomime, but in my responses to my real life as I live it, here and now, as it presents itself always as koan. Can I stop looking for the clever way out? Can I stop trying to think myself out of life? Reach for the strawberry. Wave the fan.